Dallas County budget, put it together, it's about just a shade under $4 billion. A 1% loss of count would equate to about $40 million that this county could lose in federal funds. That's how important this complete count is. So what's at risk is $40 million to be distributed throughout the county after 2020 until 2030 for 10 years. So there's a lot at stake. What the county has decided to do is to enlist the services of a consultant that does nothing but helping cities and counties with census taking. And if you've read the package, it's campaign strategy management and oversight. They do data analysis, mapping, and reporting. They do messaging and marketing and community-based engagement. Now, what Commissioner Jenkins has asked every city in Dallas County to take $5,000 and contribute to this contract with this consultant for each increment of 50,000 in population. So Duncanville's share would be $5,000. Dallas, the city of Dallas' share, just to put numbers in perspective, is $2 million. And the total value of the contract we do not know yet, but it's in 4 parts. The 4 parts that I enumerated are exactly what the RFP says is the scope of service. Any city choosing not to participate in this does not get the services. It's guaranteed. You contribute your share, you get the services. And you get the services attributed to what we need in our city for that dollar increment. That's that $5,000. Personally, knowing what's at risk for us and the county itself, I feel that the request is justified. It's fair and reasonable. So I am in support of contributing our $5,000, and it's a council decision. It's not an individual decision, but I wanted to give you my perspective and my inputs to you to let you know where we are on this thing. He first asked for input by the 15th of September, and I raised my hand, and Mayor McCowan was there, Mayor Mason was there, Mayor Richardson, Mayor of Garland, Mayor of Addison. Who else, Chastity? Farmers Branch, yeah. All of us said, Commissioner, we're right in the middle of the budget right now. This is not in our budget, and there's no way that we can tell you by the 15th of September that we can have this $5,000. So he agreed to put the deadline for contribution at September 30th. So we are right on our budget approval for tonight. It is on our agenda, and that's why this timing fits with us to make a decision on this $5,000 tonight. And that's why I wanted to personally brief you on the background for this request from Commissioner Jenkins, to let you understand why I think it's necessary, and also to give you the information, what do we get for it? Because that's the question. Everybody wants to know, what do I get for my money? So it could be very helpful to us, and it will be very helpful to us. And Commissioner Jenkins also said that the RFP is based on a contract that was used in Houston. It was used in Chicago, Cook County. It was used for Behar County. So it is precedent setting. He didn't gin up the wheel, so to speak, to create this RFP. It's based on other successful RFPs being used around the nation. He said especially the one from Cook County, Chicago. So that's what we get for it. So I wanted to brief you personally on this, and I asked Kevin to allow me to speak to it and to also put it on consent agenda. So if there's any opposition to it, we can talk about it now. Other than that, it will go to consent agenda when we move on to calendar. Any questions that I haven't covered?
My understanding is the state's not contributing any, right?
That is correct. The state is contributing 0.
And I don't understand that, because our state representative just had a meeting talking about how we all need to get involved and get on board and do our part, but I didn't know then that the state had contributed 1 penny.
Yeah.
So, why? Did anybody ask?
Yes, we did, and Commissioner Jenkins says, I can't answer that, and I can't answer it for you either, council member. So that's the fact. It's a good question. It's a valid question. It has merit. And it was basically almost the first thing out of his mouth that he said the state is contributing nothing to this. So it is a
Just wish
county.
we'd known that before.
It is a county initiative. Not every county in the state is doing it. He felt it was necessary for us, for Dallas County, because of what's at stake.
Well, it's, to me, troublesome. I don't know how many people saw in the Dallas Morning News the map showing how many people had internet, and how the Southwest and Southern region is really,
Lower.
yeah, they don't have it. And there's a
that's
lot
why
of
the
people that don't
complete
use
count
it.
is so important for
Well,
us.
but they're supposed to do it online, and, I mean, who came up with that? It's ridiculous.
Well-
I can tell you in my own district that I have a lot of elderly people that do not use it. And that doesn't even count all the other groups of people that,
And that's the importance of our complete count committee. But the way it operates is everybody is asked to go online and complete it. If you don't complete it online, you get a letter in the mail saying, here's the hard copy. Please complete this hard copy and mail it in. If you fail to do those two, then somebody comes knocking on your door.
well, who voted on this? Is it state by state, or is
This is
it?
a federal
It's
government.
federal.
I knew it was federal,
It's
but
federal.
I mean, who voted?
Well, each state can decide whether they
Want to do it
fund
that
for
way.
the funding, but the federal government's the one that sets the guidelines for how the census will be administered.
Yeah, the federal government said we're doing it online this year.
Well, isn't that interesting?
But interestingly, it's in this meeting as well, there was some discussions about how can we help people. And I put it in, so I transcribed some notes, and I gave it to Kevin and others, that some of the cities are looking at putting up kiosks in the library, asking the churches to put out computers in their churches and let people that don't have internet at home do it when they come to church. So there's other ways for people to do it online for those that don't have it or don't feel comfortable with doing it online either. So we're looking at various options that we can consider. When I say we, I'm talking about all the cities within Dallas County to help people first do it online, because that's going to be the easiest and the quickest. Just 10 questions, that's all there is, and to get this thing complete.
Well, I think the problem, though, is part of the problem is the atmosphere right now, and what's going on. There's a lot of people that are in the shadows that probably don't feel.
I understand, but what we have on our agenda tonight is a contribution of $5,000 toward this RFP, and in return for that, we get documented services to help us assist in getting a complete count for the city of Duncanville in our area.
And we don't know what the documented services will be at this point. I'm
I'm sorry,
definitely
Mark?
supportive. We don't know what the documented services at this point is going to be, is that correct? Can you outline what we're getting for that?
I gave you the topic,
Those four items.
there's 4 sections to the RFP. And all 4 sections will be awarded to one contractor. Because I asked the question, I said, well, contractor A gets section A and somebody else gets section B, how's that gonna work? And he said they intend to award all 4 sections to only one contractor for consistency. So the 4 items, those topics in your package that I enumerated, those are the 4 tasks in the RFP. That is the scope of the contract, verbatim. First, census campaign strategy management oversight. 2, census data dash analysis, mapping and reporting. 3, census messaging and marketing. And 4, community-based engagement. So you get those if you pay, you don't get them if you don't. Yes, sir?
Yeah, and you'll have to redistrict your city
Yes,
as a result of the census
Yep.
too. So
it's
that
important,
second component,
that mapping piece.
we would have to normally go out and you might have to hire a demographer to do that for you, but you might get a So
Okay.
for $5,000, I don't know if you could hire a demographer at UNT to do it for that. So if you just got that information alone, pay for itself.
Yeah. So I said, you know, this is consent. I hope that we can agree to leave it there and be able to do this. I think it would be very beneficial to us.
I think you ought to explain it though to people so they understand it.
In council,
Yeah,
I'd be happy to do that.
we have to pull it off to do that.
You can comment on it before after the city secretary reads it. We've
Oh,
done that
I
before
can
on
do that.
occasion.
I can do that.
Just explain.
Because there's a lot of mixed messages, you know. And I think people need to know that the state did not participate.
Brandon. Okay. Okay, move on then.
Okay. Item 4D is a resolution approving an interlocal agreement between the city and Dallas County Sheriff's Office, Dallas County, for highway accident investigation services. You may remember having taken this action not too many months ago because we had a contract for FY19. The county's not been real consistent with doing a contract in the past for us. And now they're getting more consistent. So we did approve a contract for FY19 several months ago. This is the FY20 contract, and it provides for Dallas County Sheriff's Office to work highway accidents for us. And this is definitely very beneficial to us to allow them to do that and to do the accident investigations on the highways. And these funds are budgeted in the FY20 budget. Item 4E is a resolution approving a contract, also or amendment number 2 to the household hazardous waste interlocal agreement with Dallas County. This is what allows our citizens to participate in household hazardous waste collection by taking their materials to the collection center on Plano Road or participating in our annual spring hazardous waste cleanup event that's held at Duncanville High School. It also allows citizens to participate in other communities that have a household hazardous waste program or in the same program. The funds are budgeted in the FY20 budget. Those are all of the items on the consent agenda. I'm happy to answer any of the other items if there are any specific questions for staff on any of the other individual consideration items.
Well, yeah, why don't we talk about
The budget.
yeah.
So on FY 19-20 budget in your staff memo, there are some other additional items that have been requested for inclusion in the budget. Councilmember Jameson has requested the Easter egg hunt. We've looked at that, and we have not held that event for the past 2 years. In the past, when we did hold it, approximately 1,000 to 1,200 people attending, that's adults and children. The approximate cost to hold that event is about $4,000, and that includes bounce houses, staffing, the Easter eggs and candy, and other things like that. A second item that has been requested, Councilmember Cooks has requested funding for a city-sponsored bicycle ride. This was one that was done this year. Earlier in the year, that was held, and we were able to do it with a number of cops volunteers because the date was changed to not conflict with a previously scheduled event. Based on using volunteers and then minimum number of police officers and then using public works, the cost to hold that event was about $3,000. There were about 35 people that attended that bicycle ride. So those items are just included in, or they're not included in the budget because the proposed budget was submitted to you on July 31st as required. So at this point, this is for you if you want to amend or adopt the budget with these amendments, then you can amend it and add these into the budget when you adopt it.
Is that on A or C? I read it, but I don't remember where I read it.
5A.
Those two items.
5A, that's it, 5A, that is adopting the budget. So those are your options. If you want to do these things, then you can amend the budget to include the cost of those events. And then we will, when we publish the budget, it will be with the new numbers.
So, just want to say that I really appreciate you all putting the language in for the motion that has to be made, there's certain language that has to be said, so I really appreciate you all putting that language in there. And I would like to make that motion to approve the budget. Be very easy, and that way the attorney doesn't have to write it out like he's done in the past.
Is there any discussion on the two, I'm going to call them, secondary items on the Easter egg hunt and the bike ride? I'd like to say I'd like to see the Easter egg hunt. It's a great community event. You know, and I look at what we did for the 4th of July and how so many people just love getting together in our city and doing something together. And I think $4,000 is, yes, it is, but that money, we can pull that money, we can find it. And Mark, I have a question for you on the bike ride. There again, I think it's a strong community pull. What's her name? I keep forgetting her name. Beth Farrell on the Parks board. As the owner of B&B, can we really help get her to help get this thing so that we get more than 35, 40
Yeah,
40 people?
she was actually a part of the committee as well. And the only holdup we had less numbers is because we got rained out and the school district was not able to get their students involved because of testing. So Beth and that same team and more will get together because it was really driven just not only for the community, for the school district as well. So Beth is already a part of that and we'll implement that.
Okay, so I'm thinking that here again, this is going to be a strong community poll.
Yeah, for sure.
In the interim, from when you first brought this up, I heard that the mayor of Grand Prairie does.
You know, bike ride every month.
He does bike ride.
So is he challenging you to have one or something? That's okay, we'll help you out. We'll do it as a group. We're good.
I'll be honest with you, this is my chasing a rabbit, but I'm unable to ride bike.
Oh, no, we know that. I'll just give you
It
just
distresses me
your
greatly.
Your presence is better than anything else. So Patrick, Councilman Harvey actually led off the group to start the bike ride. So he was our starter in the last event. So just being there, I think, shows a lot.
I would love to be able to participate and ride a bike, I'm not able. So those are two items that we did not have in the budget when we first went through. Firstly, I'm in favor of those two, but this is an item for individual consideration when we get out there if we have any discussion on that.
And I would like to share with you a learning event for my children when they were small, an Easter egg hunt. And, you know, they're little bitty. They start with different age groups. They have different age groups together. And the first time we went, you know, they run out there with their basket and they point at an egg and you say, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. And they stand there and some other little kid who gets it runs behind and grabs it. And then after a while, they get it. You better pick it up or your opportunity is gone. So to me, I thought that was a real learning experience because they got it, that you better do something when it's your opportunity.
Okay. Any other discussion on the items for individual consideration? If not, we will move into briefing on Citizen Civic Academy. Okay.
Mayor and Council, so in your staff memo, we did outline, I don't have any presentation. Sorry.
I'm sorry again. We will move the executive session to the end of the meeting. Okay. Sorry. I think that helps.
It's all right.
Anything else I'm supposed to say?
I won't get a complex. So the item on your agenda on the briefing session is to talk about the idea of a citizen academy. Councilmember Cooks has requested this item be put on the agenda. He's brought up the idea of that. Actually, we have discussed this before. The mayor also has mentioned it, and I know Councilmember Harvey has given me his book from the city of Seagoville's similar type of program. This idea has come up in the past by I think some members of the Multicultural Social Engagement Partnership, so I included their outline in there. It is something that we have on our work plan for this year. We just have not been able to get to it as staff, but it is something that I think is a worthwhile program we're going to do. But again, so I'm going to turn it over to Councilman Chris.
Yeah, I know we as a council discussed this a little bit during the interviewing of our citizens. And we just thought, wanted to just kind of open it up because we didn't get a chance to discuss that portion of it and how we see it would look for succession, really planning for future leadership. And so, without putting too much burden on the staff, is really also how we can get involved and help that as well, without putting a whole lot of pressure on the staff. So I just want to open it up and see. Sounds like Councilman Harvey has had some success in their group before. You know how we can make it work for our own city as well. So
There's no question there is pressure on staff.
yeah, it is pressure on the staff.
There's no question, and it's,
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
there.
I'm not saying how we
I don't
can
want to
help.
minimize it because they got to do the thing.
Right. Well, and I think they did do. There's a lot they have to do as well, and I think we have to see how we help them participate. No, maybe we're not talking about next month or the following month, but at least start the planning process. They have staff to listen to our thoughts, and they can come back at some time to tell us when we can do it. And
Well, timing is definitely got to be after the first of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we're heading into.
we want to kind of start that discussion now versus later, though.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true. I have had success, well, at least I've had the experience of going through Civic Academy, both in Seagoville and also the city of DeSoto back in the early 2000s. I personally feel that the city ought to take every advantage of every opportunity to tell its story. We're talking about teaching kids how to take advantage of an opportunity, and I think so it is with us as an organization. We should take advantage of every opportunity to tell our story. I have experienced it in Seagoville, and I've also seen it in Duncanville, how so many people in our community are not aware of what we do. And when they have an opportunity to see what a city does, it literally blows their mind, all the things that go on. I can remember some years ago walking into the assistant city manager's office, and on the whiteboard was just a list of all the things that were going on that the city was doing. And I've worked with cities for years, and it just blew my mind. I said, all of this can't be going on. But my point is that it gives the community an opportunity to learn about what the city is doing on their behalf. And when people know better, they do better. It provides a platform where people in the community can begin to trust the various things that the city is doing. And it's really time well spent. I do admit it is, because I've done it from a staff perspective with two cities. It's more on your plate that you have to do in addition to what you already do. I admit that. However, I think the investment in getting people engaged and the potential goodwill that results is really worth the effort. And after all, we have been saying for a number of years that we want to have the most engaged citizenry in America. So that's just another initiative that we're going to undertake to make that happen. So I like the idea, and I'll do whatever I can to provide assistance.
I'll interject that when I brought this to Mr. Hubman as an idea, it wasn't my idea. It came to me from 3 citizens saying, would you please do this? So I did not generate the idea myself. It was the request on the part of our citizens that said, we would like to know how things are going. Could you do like a little school for what goes on in the city? And I said, yeah, take a look at it. So
And I think
that
we
was
heard-
my input.
And I think we heard the same thing, and that's kind of why we sort of talking about it during the interviewing sessions. Like, you know, if we don't now, when, at least put it on, that kind of moving forward. So I like that. Patrick, how many people do you recall that were in one of those classes at one time?
The attendance is limited. In Seagoville, we have about 12 people. And I can recall in DeSoto, I think it was either 20 or 25 people.
Wow, okay.
It's not all done in one day, is it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely not.
So a year period of time, didn't it?
Yeah, it goes over several weeks, and it's a particular day of the week at a particular time. And as I said before, it takes several weeks for Duncanville. I would figure at least anywhere between 7 and 10 weeks. I would
Okay,
think.
good.
Yeah.
Good.
And then the other question as we think about, so 7 to 10 weeks, 12 or so more people. As we think about this, what's everybody's thought on, would it be someone who's already currently on a board, or would it be someone who's not been appointed to any boards at all? Commissions, board of commissions at all, or is it always just new people?
I would open it up to attendance, whoever wants to
Yeah, I
come.
was gonna say, they have to say they want to
Yeah,
go.
whoever wants to come,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm thinking we can do it at the senior center. Max capacity would be whatever the certificate of occupancy is for the senior center.
Do we put any teeth in it where, giving staff direction at some point, do you put any teeth in it? Is it because we're investing in staff's time, in some cases our own time? You put any teeth in it to say you have to attend so many in order to continue to participate in the program? Or you had said that you release people if they're not a part of the program? Is that
Oh, that's a whole
commitment?
different, I never thought of that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about how much time you're saying staff's going to invest in it, and so you want to make sure that they're like-minded people if they are saying, this is really interesting, I don't want to stay there for 12 weeks, or I don't want to sign up, but now we have one. We want consistency all the way through to make this successful.
So that takes on the picture of the calling it an academy. You attend all the sessions, you get a certificate at the end.
Right, exactly. So it's not just something you just, if you want to just come and listen in and for a certain segment, that's fine. But if you really want to get that certificate at the end, I think you go all the way through the whole 8 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever.
Mr. Harvey, was the class done just once a year?
No, actually, believe it or not, we did it twice this year. We did it in October, and then we turned around and did it in March and April. But once a year is good.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
usual.
The only thing I would ask is when Richard talks, he does it in plain English.
I'm not feeling too bad about it.
I think you do very well. In fact, when you say, I don't want to bore you, well, you don't bore us. It's very interesting. And Chief Rhodey agrees. Yeah. You don't bore me.
This time of year, none of the department heads disagree with Richard.
Ah. So you might think he really is boring.
The Citizen Police Academy, remind me, do you have to complete it all, you have to complete all of the courses all the way through every class? I know I went through it, I don't recall how many we have to complete to get.
I don't know, Chief, is there a certain number on that?
We obviously would like for you to attend all of them, but if you can't, we'll make an exception.
Is there anything we do just for enjoyment that you don't, it's not punitive or? Can you just like come to it and not get spanked if you don't?
Well, you can come to what you want. If you don't make all the sessions, you just don't get the shingle.
Right. Because what you want to have is a commitment. You want to have a commitment of knowing that they're committed to do it, and they're coming to that session each and every time, because, you know, again, the staff is putting their
People are
time.
people, though. I mean, you know,
Yeah, that's very involved.
you hang the carrot out there. That if you come to all of them, we give you a piece of paper.
Right.
And if you don't, fine. You know, we're happy to have you for what you can attend.
Mhm.
It is
You get the
citizen
free water.
involvement. You know, some people may not want to hear about budget. But they want to hear about parks. You know? I don't know.
No, I know, they don't want to.
So we talked, so that's kind of hopefully gives the staff some information. You said perhaps looking at the first of the year, are we talking
I'm
first
saying
quarter?
sometime after the
After
the
first
dust
quarter,
settles after the
first
year.
quarter, second quarter? I
Probably
know we
second-
don't put
second
anything on it,
quarter.
we'll miss it.
Second quarter sometime. probably, I
And
guess.
this is something on to ask staff if they want to be involved in
Well, I'm guessing Kevin's talking to staff about it.
Well, this is not, we will have to put together the presentations and we will be involved. It's not going to be an option. We will have to be part of that. So, but it will take some time to put together all of the presentations and PowerPoints and things like that. So we'll need some time. And
Second quarter, about right, a good time for you, do you think?
springtime probably. I think we could shoot for that.
Yeah, once you get it set, it's really about.
Yeah, after that, if you have the curriculum established, then it's just a matter of tweaking it after that.
Yeah.
The
But
front
we
end
should-
load is going to be.
We should be involved in speaking as well.
Yes,
I agree.
yeah, just- yeah,
Definitely, city council should show up for some of the sessions. And
it. I want to hear Ramey talk about constructing a sidewalk.
We could actually assign each of you a specific topic, a department to speak about, and then the staff could just be there back. You can speak about building sidewalks, and Greg could be there back.
I'll talk about walking on them and how my district would like one. We would like a sidewalk anywhere.
I just wanted to start the conversation, so that was the whole purpose of asking you to put it back, put it on the agenda.
Okay.
I did notice those new ones and they're very nice. Right, those ones going down Davis and the side streets, very nice.
That's our city crew doing that.
Really? Well, I think they do better than contractors.
They do.
Very good.
Very good, very good.
At lesser cost.
There you go.
Yeah.
They look better.
Oh, speaking of that, in Public Works, sign went up in our neighborhood, $630,000 contract. And I'm going back to, right after I got elected, we did some micro surfacing of streets. And I got a call from somebody who said,
Sounds like conflict of interest.
no, somebody called me and said, how come you didn't do my street? And I didn't have an answer. And I called Greg and I said, how come we did micro surfacing of this street, this street, this street, and not this one? He said, because there's significant infrastructure, water problems underneath that street. We have to do all that underneath before we can micro surface that person's street. I called the citizen back, I explained it, she was super, super happy. And so now, with what we just did in city council, that's city council approving that contract for that infrastructure, for doing the stuff underneath, because it's dumb to do something on top and then tear it up and do something underneath. Now we've got this contract, and that sign is sitting right on that street where that lady called me about, like, when are you gonna do my street? And there it was, I noticed it today for the first time. So it really makes an impact on our people. Okay.
Okay, Ramey, you get
Oh,
to
you
do the
guys-
first
You
class.
guys give me the money, I just spend it.
And you conduct the first class.
I think I'm 7.
Okay, I believe we're done with our briefing work session. We have a few minutes. Do you want to start executive session, go into it, recess it, and come back?
Like you should.
All right, let's go ahead. So we will go into executive session. Now, members of council, we're going to bring this thing to a close in around 8 minutes till, so we have time to close it. get out there and we can get started at 7. No? All right, never mind. Never mind. We won't do it. Go get a Coke. Oh, we're ending our working session at 7:39. 6:30. It is 7:01. I'm calling to order our Duncanville City Council meeting at Tuesday, September the 17th, 2019. Welcome. Thank you for everybody that's coming to our meeting tonight. The first item that we have on the agenda is our invocation, and the invocation is going to be given tonight by Pastor Jerry Gonzalez from the Duncanville Church of Christ. Pastor, please rise.
Please pray with me. Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you this evening, Father, to thank you for all the blessings that you've given us, Lord. Lord, we acknowledge that you are the creator of all. Lord, we are here because of your love, your mercy for us. So we thank you for that this evening, Father. Lord, we pray this evening for wisdom, for this council, for our mayor. Lord, give them a sense of urgency for justice for all. Lord, put the needs of the people of this city, the citizens of Duncanville, Lord, at the front, Lord, of everything that they do here and decide this evening. Lord, give them lots of wisdom, Lord. Give them ways to forgive and to move on. Give them ways to work in harmony, Father. Give them creative ideas, Lord. Bless them with lots of different ways to prosper the citizens and to make this city great, Lord. We're thankful for a city that calls on you. We're thankful for a city that waits and expects for you to come through, Lord, with all the promises that you've made to us this evening, Lord. We thank you, Lord, for peace. We thank you for an abundance of resources that you've given us, Lord. Help us to use them wisely, to administer them, Lord, in a way that glorifies you, Heavenly Father. We thank you. In the name of Jesus we pray and ask these things. Amen.
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 Thank you. Please join us in pledges to our flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please be seated. The next item on our agenda are reports from council, and for the mayor's report, I have 4 little items I'd like to go over with you very quickly. First of all, tomorrow at 8 o'clock in the senior center is Coffee with the Mayor, and that'll go from 8 to 9 o'clock. So I'm inviting folks to just join me for a little refreshment, and we can chat about some stuff. Unfortunately for tomorrow, I do need to cut it off at 9 o'clock because I have other appointments that I have to get to, but in subsequent ones, I'll hope to have it be able to go a little longer. Another thing I'd like to bring to your attention once again is the Tri-City Animal Shelter fundraiser that comes up September 28th. And one of the things that happens at this is that in order to raise funds, the 3 cities involved in this, which is Duncanville, DeSoto, and Cedar Hill, we put together merchandise baskets. And then people that attend the fundraiser bid on the basket, and the basket is put together in value of what's been contributed. Last year, Duncanville won. We had the biggest, we had the best basket. It's not actually a basket, there's so much stuff, it was on a cart. Anywhere from blankets to TVs and microwaves. So I don't want to lose. We won it last year. We won it big. The city, what it does, it's a great thing for us to raise money for the Tri-Cities Animal Shelter. And so if you possibly can, purchase some merchandise and bring it to City Hall. And we do have a volunteer that is putting together the basket. And then it'll be taken over to the Tri-City Animal Shelter for that gala on the 28th of September. Next thing I'd like to address is that every now and then on some social media, there is a company posting information about the quality of our water in the city of Duncanville, and it's a scam. Some people don't understand it, but what it is, it's a very clever means of getting you to click on that link, and so they can sell you a water filter system. We have, according to state standards, a superior water quality in the city of Duncanville. If you want a water filter system, you can certainly do one, however you want to do that. But that posting is a scam. It's fraudulent. There's nothing about that is being sponsored or indicator of what our water quality is. Personally, in our house, I've been drinking water out of that tap for the time that we've lived in the city of Duncanville since 1998. I like that water. And I have a personal testing device that I use to test our water. And because I have a very unique spouse, she likes filtered water. So we have a reverse osmosis water filter system in our house that she gets to use for her stuff. And she can tell the difference when I make her coffee with my water versus her water. Anyway, don't listen to what you see on social media about our water. It is perfect. It is great water, okay? Last thing I'd like to bring up, in case you haven't heard, our Duncanville football team defeated St. John's College out of Washington, D.C. It was a great game. St. John's was ranked 14th in the nation. And as a result of our win, Duncanville is now ranked #1 in the state. And I was talking to Al Wash, who is the promoter of that football game. I was talking to him yesterday. There was a national football high school media person present at that football game, and that person told Al that based on his feeling that the Duncanville football team could be ranked as high as 4th or 3rd in the nation as a result of that win. So Dr. Mark Smith is we're proud to have that football team and Coach Samples. He's a very, very unique individual in terms of a football coach. He's a father to a lot of those young men. He's a great guy. So it is a great honor for us to have a great football team and to have a coach and a coaching staff. With that concludes my mayor's report. Are there any council members' reports?
Oh, yeah, it's on.
Hit the button.
It's on.
I'm not, oh,
Anyway, it's on. Okay.
okay.
All right, good.
Oh, there it went. Go.
All right, great. Well, good evening. Council member report. I want to first recognize the park board for doing something that I consider very unique, and that is having the park board meeting actually in the park. And so I want to thank the park board members and the Parks Department for hosting that at Pyburn Park last week. It was very successful, and I understand they're doing more, and it's very successful in the other parks as well. Secondly, I want to recognize that we are continuing to have our Lunch and Learn, and our guest this month is our own Mayor Barry Gordon. We'll be hosting that at Papados on the 26th of this month, and at a private room. We're asking all citizens who would like to spend some time with the mayor after you have breakfast on tomorrow, then next week you can have dinner with the mayor if you missed that one. So I want to encourage you to come out and have one-on-one time with the mayor of Duncanville. Secondly, I want to extend to you, I want to talk about Shop Duncanville for a second. I'd love to get some examples on why you shop Duncanville. So my office is located on Hampton and 67 when I'm in the office. And there's a Luby's right across the street from me. So when it's time for lunch, instead of going to the Luby's right across the street from me in Dallas, I leave my office, get in my vehicle, and I drive to the Duncanville Luby's on 67, only to shop in Duncanville. So I encourage you that if you're not shopping in Duncanville, please shop Duncanville. It helps our city, and it helps the overall environment of our businesses in our cities as well. And then couple of other things is that I am asking for you to think about this called Stepping Out of Homelessness One Step at a Time. On September 28, 2019, the Under One Roof organization is hosting a banquet for homeless, to help the homeless. In order to assist persons in becoming self-reliant, Under One Roof provides permanent supportive housing and other services to the homeless and low-income individuals as well as families in our community. That includes our community here in Duncanville. So on September the 28th, 11:30 to 1:30, there is a short banquet. The honorary chairs is Dr. Michael Bowie and Miss Jeanette Bowie, and then Mark Cooks of Duncanville. So I ask if you would like to attend Stepping Out of Homelessness One Step at a Time to please see me and pick up a card, and we'd love for you to participate. And then last but not least, I have some special guests that we'll hear from later, but I want to ask them in part of my council report for them to stand. We have the unique opportunity to have 5 judges in our midst today, and so we have Judge Amber Given Davis. We also have Judge Raquel Jones. We have also Judge Lisa Green. We have Judge Stephanie Huff. And we have Judge Shaquita Kelly. Thank you guys for joining our Duncanville City Council on today. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Any other council members' reports? Seeing none, city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Would like to note for all of the citizens that our new solid waste contract will take effect on October 1st. We have a mailer that will be hitting homes this week that has all of the information on the schedule and pickup times and those changes in the contract. It's also on our website and also on our social media. So please look for that information and let us know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 2, proclamations and presentations. The first proclamation we have is a proclamation for September 17th, 2019 as National Information Technology Professionals Day, and I will make that proclamation. And Mr. Tracy Beekman, our Chief CIO, Chief Information Officer is good enough for me, is here to accept this. Tracy and his staff do an incredible job keeping us safe. You may not think of information technology as safety, but it is. We live in an age of cyber infiltration, and cybersecurity is becoming more and more dangerous every day. But Tracy and his staff do a tremendous job in keeping this city safe from cyber infiltration. So this is recognition of our staff. And Tracy, you'll take that. I'll read this. Whereas the use of technology is flourishing and has a huge impact on operations around the world, and whereas the Information Technology Department serves the community through departments of police, fire, public works, parks and recreation, general government, finance, and all divisions of and is instrumental in helping these departments offer essential community services that affect the everyday lives of our citizens. Whereas the United States tech industry is a major driving force in the overall economy, and whereas information technology draws on a highly educated and skilled U.S. workforce, and whereas cloud computing, mobility, big data, automation, and social technologies have become common elements for businesses of all sizes. With that said, cybersecurity becomes a constant concern with the need for employees with technical expertise. And whereas booming technology, economic and demographic shifts continue to rapidly change our world, it is more important than ever for organizations from small businesses to government agencies to embrace effective information technology practices. Therefore, I, Barry L. Gordon, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby proclaim September 17th, 2019 as National IT Professionals Day throughout the city of Duncanville. Thank you, Tracy. Would you like to say a few words? Yes, you do.
Mayor, Council, thank y'all for the proclamation. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
The next proclamation we have is National Night Out. This will be presented by Councilmember Joe Veracruz.
I have Chief Brown and Officer Sisk. Join me in the front, please. Whereas National Night Out was introduced by the National Association of Town Watch in 1984 as a national program, which would be coordinated by local crime prevention agencies and organizations that would involve entire communities at one time. And whereas over 38.1 million people in 16,540 communities from all 50 states, U.S. territories, Canadian cities, and military bases worldwide have participated in National Night Out. And whereas National Night Out is designed to heighten crime and drug prevention awareness, generate support for, and participate in local anti-crime programs. And whereas the traditional lights on and porch or front porch vigils remain a part of the National Night Out, activities have expanded considerably over the years to include block parties, cookouts, parades, visits from local police and sheriff departments, festivals, neighborhood walks, safety fairs, contests, rallies, and meetings. And whereas National Night Out is a popular and effective vehicle for heightening awareness, enhancing police community relations, and volunteer morale. Now, therefore, our Honorable Barry L. Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, hereby proclaim October 1st, 2019 as National Night Out in the City of Duncanville and urge all citizens to join the police department in being a part of the nation's largest annual crime and drug prevention event. The benefits of the community will extend well beyond one night. So in witnesser whereof, I hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Duncanville, Texas, to be affixed this 17th day of September 2019.
A police officer has nothing to say, not a single one of you. Not going to get full of
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we look forward to seeing everyone out on National Night Out. It's an opportunity for us to engage with our citizens. It's an opportunity for us to talk about ways to help them be safe. And I've asked Officer Doug Sisk, our crime prevention officer, to share a little bit about National Night Out.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor. We hope everybody can make it out to the Duncanville Rec Center, October 1st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. We'll have a number of tables set up with safety and security information to pass on to the citizens, and that way we can provide more information to make your personal life and your homes and your cars safer and more secure, so hopefully we can reduce you being a victim of a crime.
I do want to mention to our citizens that the city council meeting scheduled for the October 1st is canceled because of National Night Out. Or it's actually the second, or is it the first? It's the first. So we will not have a city council meeting on October the 1st so that folks can attend National Night Out. Thank you. The next proclamation we have is recognizing October as National Crime Prevention Month. And this will be presented by Councilmember Patrick Harvey.
Good afternoon. I am honored to have this opportunity to present this proclamation on behalf of Crime Prevention Month, and it reads as follows. Whereas the vitality of the city of Duncanville depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, and communities, and whereas crime and fear of crime destroy our trust in others and in civic institutions, threatening the community's health, prosperity, and quality of life, and whereas citizens of all ages must be made aware of what they can do to prevent themselves and their families, neighbors, and co-workers from being harmed by crime, and whereas citizens of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of crime and how they can protect themselves from becoming victims, and whereas the personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crime are intolerable and require investment from the whole community, we must teach citizens how to target harden, to make themselves, homes and businesses, harder targets to criminal activity. And whereas crime prevention initiatives must include self-protection and security, they must also go beyond those things to promote collaborative efforts to make neighborhoods safer for all ages and to develop positive opportunities for young people. And whereas adults must invest time, resources, and policy support in effective prevention and intervention strategies for youth, and adults must make sure to engage teens in programs to drive crime from their communities. And whereas effective crime prevention programs succeed because of partnerships with law enforcement, other government agencies, civic groups, schools, faith communities, businesses, and individuals, as they help to nurture communal responsibility and instill pride in the community. Now, therefore, Barry R. Gordon, Mayor of the City of Duncanville, Texas, do hereby proclaim October 2019 as Crime Prevention Month in the City of Duncanville, and urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and work together to make Duncanville a safer, stronger, more caring community.
Thank you, Councilmember Harvey. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Officer Doug Siss is our crime prevention officer, and I've had the privilege of working with Doug for the past 13 years. Doug is well respected by his colleagues. He's well respected throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and Doug has received a number of awards from his colleagues. And so I've asked Doug to accept this proclamation. I've asked him to just say a few words about Crime Prevention Month.
Thank you, Chief, and again, thank you, Mayor. Crime prevention involves the community, so if you'd like to get your neighborhood involved, Neighborhood Crime Watch, please contact me. We can definitely get your neighborhood going. If you've got a business in the community, please contact us. We can do some business surveys and help also get your business watches going. So just reach out to me and we'll get things going.
Thank you. Thank you. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is citizens' input. And to address the council, our citizens are requested to submit a completed request card to the city secretary prior to the beginning of the input portion of our city council meeting, and which they have done. Pursuant to section 551.007 of the Texas Government Code, any member of the public has the opportunity to address the city council concerning any matter of public business or any posted agenda item. However, the act prohibits the city council from deliberating issues not on the public agenda, and such non-agenda items may be referred to the city staff for research and any future action. All persons addressing are subject to council adopted rules and limitations as permitted by law. And our council limitations for the city of Duncanville, our citizens are asked to respect a 2-minute time limitation. I have cards here from the 5 judges, all on the same subject. What I would request is that I believe it would be acceptable to the 5 judges if one individual would like to address the council on the same subject, and if that's acceptable, then would one of the judges please step forward? And please give us your name and address. Whoever is going to be doing the addressing. Use that mic, that boom microphone right there.
We'll start by introducing ourselves, if that's fine. I'm Judge Givens Davis, presiding judge of the 282nd Judicial District Court in Dallas.
Judge Stephanie Huff, presiding judge of the 291st Judicial District Court.
Judge Shaquita Kelly, presiding judge of County Criminal Court, number 11.
Raquel Rocky Jones, presiding judge of the 203rd Judicial District Court in Dallas County.
Lisa Green, presiding judge of County Criminal Court, number 5.
So, your honors, which one is going to take it?
Oh, okay.
2 minutes.
I do live here actually in Cedar Hill. And I wanted to talk to you all about the fact that we have a great program called Pipeline of Possibilities, and it is a program designed to change the narrative from pipeline to prison to pipeline of possibilities for young people, high school students, where we've been going into various schools in the DISD school district, and now we will be bringing the program to Duncanville High School starting on tomorrow. And this program basically educates young people about the criminal justice system in its entirety, from various knowing how to distinguish between misdemeanors and felonies, understanding the bond and grand jury process, understanding how lawyers are arguing cases on an everyday basis. They also learn life skills. They learn about how to present themselves. The girls have OBGYNs who come and talk to them about sexual education, feminine hygiene, and makeup artists who show them and demonstrate how to properly apply makeup. They also learn about sexting issues. They learn about anything that pertains to them where they can actually make the wrong decision and end up in the criminal justice system. And the boys, they learn how to tie ties. They learn from professional mentors who educate them about becoming young men. Also, we teach them about gang violence. We have those who come from law enforcement who work with gang units, gangs, and talk to them about issues that they have to deal with, in the schools. So the program is designed to really educate them and make sure that we don't see them before us in our courts. So it's a process we're going through with Duncanville High School. We look forward to it, and we look forward to talking to you some more about it.
Your honors, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
The next card I have is from S. Sorochi. Please state your name and address.
Sandra Shiroki. I'm chair of the Sister City Commission. I'm at 913 St. Andrews Place, DeSoto, Texas. I am proud to represent Duncanville at this 21st anniversary of the Sister City Exchange. Not only do we have 25 people coming from Italy, but we have over 30 Duncanville citizens that have never been involved in the city participating in this program. We are getting phone calls from citizens asking how to start up email friendships. I am asked how this program benefits the citizens. The better question is, how does it benefit Duncanville? During the 10 days, Duncanville will publicly be recognized at the Great State Fair of Texas by the Mavericks, by Gene Jones, by Margot Perot, and by the International Dallas-Fort Worth Airport and many others. Duncanville will be recognized by the mayors of Grand Prairie, Arlington, and Senator Jane Nelson. We will be representing Duncanville in Dallas, Grand Prairie, Grapevine, Arlington, and Fort Worth. Duncanville will have a minimum of 300 contact hours of PR exposure and face-to-face with many more Texans. This is invaluable to the city. We have a cheesemaker who's going to meet a prominent cheesemaker in Dallas. We have a winery in Fredericksburg who uses Italian grapes and are very interested in this visit. There's a lot of potential and economic prospects. They have a cabinet maker. We have a cabinet maker. They have small businesses. We have small businesses. They have an international pet food maker that services 4 continents. They have the same problems and difficulties as we do. We're not so different. We learn from each other and develop lifelong friendships. It's important to notice that about 45% of this land portion of the visit was paid for by the Italians. The rest came from donors. I thank you for your vision.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4 is our consent agenda. City Secretary, please.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the August 12th joint meeting with the Parks and Recreation Board and the August 20th City Council regular meeting. Item 4B, consider a resolution approving and accepting the terms and conditions of an agreement with Dallas County on behalf of the Health and Human Services Department for a mosquito ground control program attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A, effective October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020 at a rate of $185 per hour. Item 4C, consider a resolution supporting the Dallas County request for proposal for a 2020 U.S. Census Participation Initiative and authorizing a $5,000 expenditure to be finalized through an interlocal agreement with Dallas County upon selection of a vendor.
With respect, I'm going to interrupt our City Secretary to explain this $5,000 expenditure to our citizens. The County Commissioner Clay Jenkins is leading the 2020 census effort for the County of Dallas. I and staff have been attending 3 meetings so far with County Commissioner Jenkins, along with many mayors in Dallas County. What we were advised of at our last meeting is that the county is going to send out a request for proposal for a contractor to provide services to the cities of Dallas County. This proposal, this contract that's going to be let, has 4 major parts to it. The first part is census campaign strategy management oversight. The second is census data, which includes analysis, mapping, and reporting. The third is census messaging and marketing, and the fourth is community-based engagement. This contract is based on a template used by the City of Chicago, by the City of Houston, by Behar County, and several other major cities throughout the United States. One thing of note is that this contract needs to be funded by the cities that are going to be involved in Dallas County. And I will note that the state is contributing no money toward this contract. So it is incumbent solely upon the cities to receive these services that contributions to the funding of this contract be made. Commissioner Jenkins has requested those cities in Dallas County that wish to participate and receive these services that I've just enumerated contribute to the funding of this contract. The actual dollar amount of the contract is not yet known since the RFP has just been put out on the street. But the contribution is based on, for every increment of 50,000 people in population for each city, that the contribution be $5,000. In that respect, the contribution for the city of Duncanville is set at $5,000. The import of this is that cities that do not contribute to this particular contract will not receive those services that I just enumerated. The most important of which is probably the second task, which is district mapping. As a result of the census, there will be redistricting. If we as a city were to employ a demographer to do this mapping for us, it could be several thousands of dollars. We feel as a council that this $5,000 contribution is worthwhile and to the overall benefit of the city. The impact of not getting a complete count is based on the budgets of Parkland and the budgets of Dallas County. Total of those two together, it's about $3.6 billion. So let's round that up to $4 billion. If the county of Dallas fails to get even 1% of a complete count, what is at risk is $40 million a year from the federal government in terms of funds coming in. So the risk is great. So our contribution of $5,000 to this contract, we believe, is well worthwhile, and we want the citizens of Duncanville to understand this contribution, where it's going, and what the city is going to be receiving from it. Thank you.
Item 4D, consider a resolution approving the interlocal agreement between the City of Duncanville and Dallas County to provide highway accident investigation services in an amount not to exceed $59,000 for fiscal year 20. 4E, consider a resolution approving the terms and conditions of Amendment Number 2 to the Household Hazardous Waste Interlocal Agreement with Dallas County to coordinate the planning and implementation of a hazardous waste collection program from October 1st through September 30th, 2020 for a cost not to exceed $55,856.
Thank you. The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Please vote. The motion is passed. Thank you. Oh, I do want to mention the absence of Councilmember Anderson. He did inform us prior to the meeting that he will be unable to attend tonight. Moving on to item number 5, items for individual consideration. Item 5A, consider an ordinance approving and adopting a budget for the city of the fiscal year October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, and ratifying the revised fiscal year 18-19 budget, Section 7 of the attached ordinance. Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Very quickly, I wanted to have an overview of the budget. We start our budget process in January, February timeframe, and tonight is the sort of the end of that process in adoption. So we pretty much worked for 9 months on developing the budget and all the way through approval. Some of the highlights from this current budget that is proposed before you is a half-cent reduction in the property tax rate, so that will lower our rate from 0.748447 to 0.743447. In this budget, we have a $5 million set aside to implement our automated meeting infrastructure and our utility fund. There's no proposed increases for water or sewer. There's $10.5 million in capital improvement projects in the water and wastewater utility fund. There's also a pay adjustment for 4% for police civil service employees and 5% for fire civil service employees. There's funding to a funding reserve of $350,000 toward the P25 compliant public safety radios that we expect will be incurred in the fiscal year 21. Minimum required increase in garbage rates to maintain our near current service levels. That's a $4.50 increase for curbside pickup, a $5 increase to alley and commercial hand pickup. This, all of the budgets are balanced, meaning that the operating revenues are equal or greater than the operating expenditures. And these total increases add up to be about $151.21 per year. That's the average annual impact. If we look at all the budgets combined, you see that the total fiscal year 20 revenues by source are $60.7 million. Most of that, of course, is property tax and sales tax, and then water and wastewater fees. If we look at our FY20 expenditures by fund, they're $63.2 million. A little over half of that goes to the general fund for public safety and all the other processes to support the government, and then the utility fund, 30.7%. Excuse me. One thing that I like to point out is that our tax rate is only a portion of the total tax bill that most citizens pay. And here I've broken down how much goes to the independent school district, which is 52%. And then the city of Duncanville, our property tax portion is 25.5%. So it's important to note that. So what do city property taxes fund? Citizens basically for $3.07 a day or $93.47 a month, you get police and fire protection 24/7. You get street, sidewalk, traffic signals, 17 parks, 13 playgrounds, 244 acres of park land, a rec center, senior center, public library, code enforcement, building and health inspections, and street maintenance. And all this for about the same cost as a monthly cable bill or a cell phone plan. And these amounts, the $307 per day, is based on the average taxable single family residence, and that would be property taxes of $1,121.71 per year. So, lasering into the general fund, $32.9 million is what we expect and have budgeted for our general fund revenue. A little over half of that comes from property tax, 24% from sales tax, about 8% from transfers, and then the other portions of that. The general fund expenditures by area are $33.8 million. Of course, police and fire make up the majority at about 48%, and then public works, parks, rec, general non-government, finance, and other transfers and revenues. So if we look at the general fund, we have budgeted to end the year with a $6.6 million fund balance. That's about 75 days. That's based on our target. General government policy is a 60-day fund balance, and we maintain a 75, so a little bit more than what is recommended. Our utility fund outlook, we expect to end fiscal year 20 with $6.4 million. That'd be 122 days of fund balance. And then I've taken the reserve for the automated meter infrastructure out, that $5 million. If you take that out, then that reduces us to about a 28-day fund balance. And then on the solid waste, with the proposed increases, we expect to end the fiscal year 20 with about 26 days of fund balance, and then fiscal year 21 with about 4 days of fund balance. So today, of course, is an important day to approve and adopt the budget and the tax rate. Charter requires that it be adopted 10 days prior to the beginning of the next fiscal year. And so there is a required motion that I have here on your screens that needs to be made per the truth and taxation laws. And with that, I'll turn it back over to council.
Mr. Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the proposed budget for the City of Duncanville for fiscal year October 1, 2019 through September 30, 2020, providing that expenditures for said fiscal year be made in accordance with said budget, be adopted with the following additions that I will present in order of magnitude. That the city take the lead role in hosting the Barbecue and Blues Festival, and in doing so, move the festival from under grants and incentives to expenditures in the amount of $45,000, and increase funding in the category of promotion of arts in the amount of $65,000, with all revenues generated from ticket sales, memorabilia, and sponsorships added to the city treasury, and increase funding in the category of expenditures in the amount of $4,000 for an Easter egg hunt, and to include in the category of expenditures in the amount of $3,000 for the Community Unity Bicycle Ride and Walk. Continuing on, this budget will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget by an amount of $1,474,908, which is a 8.52% increase from last year's budget. The property tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $108,841.
Is there a second?
Second.
I will open this to discussion. First, want to say that in accordance with law, that there have been 2 public hearings on the budget. Is there any additional discussion? Mr. Cooks.
Maybe I missed something. Councilman Harvey, tell me more about the Blues Festival that you talked about. Is that something that we've already discussed? And I guess I don't have more information to know about putting it into the budget for this year.
What is it that I can answer for you?
Well, I have no information in front of me about the proposed item that you have here about the Blues Festival. Not that I just question that one, but I guess this is probably my first time hearing that we're asking for it to be included in this year's budget, which over the discussion of a period of time, I would probably like to have heard a little bit more on the liability of the event. I know the event has happened or tried to happen twice. I think there was a rain out in both cases. Also think there was a insurance policy, I guess, that had to be taken care of as well. And so I just wanted to hear more about proceeding and how you feel this will we can move this forward at this hour.
Well, I'll say in all fairness that this is the first time that I've heard of the Easter egg hunt in the community bike rally in terms of being added to this year's budget. I will say that the city taking the lead role in it, I think will assist in terms of going through the necessary procedures to secure the event. I think that the city, with its experience in doing festivals well at Christmas and July the 4th, the city has the necessary experience to do it. It models very closely in funding to the way that Bedford does it. Bedford does it as a city event. And so in terms of how it would be set up in the details, I would say that it would be set up in the details just as it has been in the past in terms with the sponsors, the barbecue organization that's located in Kansas. So the only thing that's changing from my perspective is the fact that I think it needs to be funded now if we're going to do it next year, because I've learned that there are advanced preparations that need to be made in order with making arrangements with musicians and that sort of thing. So if we're going to do it next fiscal year, then in my humble opinion, the time to start is now, and not whenever we plan to do it next year.
So though I have nothing against the Blues Festival itself, but I was thinking that the organization that hosted it last year and the request of funding from last year was probably the appropriate place to host or to do that. So I was just kind of curious why that particular organization perhaps wouldn't come back in that same direction and ask for support and funding from that end versus using the budget from here. We know the dollars are very similar, it's just a different pocket of where it comes from, but the pocket of where it's come from is totally different than the budget here for sure. So any comments on not having it going back through the original organization and supporting it through the other way?
I want to interject here. I will not support Mr. Harvey's motion as read. The addition of funds that he has enumerated that were not previously discussed by this council in budget and in public hearings, and I think that's what you're referring to, Mr. Cooks, those budgeted amounts that are being included in this motion, I will not support. So I believe as well that the dollar amount that's expressed in this particular motion that's been prepared very specially in accordance with law, those dollar amounts are no longer accurate as a result of what Mr. Harvey has inserted into the budget without council understanding prior to this point. That's my interjection. I will not support the motion as read by Mr. Harvey. Ms. Jamison.
There's a big difference. The money's coming from general fund?
No, ma'am, it's coming from hotel motel.
Hotel motel?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where it always came from before. Why was it brought up during hotel motel?
Ms. James, would
Council,
you like to?
We discussed during the budget workshop a major event planning contract, and we did include $100,000 in the hotel motel tax fund for major event planning, but that was just what that was talked about was major events. I don't know that there was anything specifically
There was not.
annotated to that, but we did include that in the budget, so.
Well, I kind of, we had an opportunity earlier to talk about what was being added, and nothing was said, not one thing. So I don't understand this either. This is like an ambush.
Point of order.
No, there's no point of order.
It is,
How's that a point of order?
because you're assigning a judgment to what I said. It's not an ambush.
Oh, no, I didn't say one thing.
Well,
The
Brett has-
the language is probably inappropriate, but the fact of the matter is that we were unaware of what you intended to do, Mr. Harvey.
And let me add some additional explanation. What staff did several weeks ago is to give us their recommendation as to what they think the budget should be. And so, as I understand our prerogative as council members, we can take their recommendations and add, subtract, multiply, and divide. We can do that. Now, as a practical matter, unfortunately, I'm hamstrung by the law. I can't talk to each and every council member to gain their support, because then you have a walking quorum. And so I have basically taken something that we're familiar with, and I said, well, let's take on the responsibility, take the burden off of the Lions Club. They can still participate. They won't be shut out. The Rotary, no one will be shut out. They will just simply they'll be volunteers to come help assist us do this. And as I said before, I had no other choice, given my understanding of the way in which we should operate legally and ethically, to do it this way. So, as a council member, I have a right to interject what I feel like we should be doing, and I don't necessarily have to take verbatim what staff is giving me. I'm not saying staff is wrong. They've done their work. Now I'm adding to it my work.
And you have the right to do that, and we are not doing anything to decrement your right. I am simply saying that the specificity of what you're asking for was not previously discussed by council, and that's why I cannot support the motion as read. Is there any further discussion?
I don't understand why it wasn't brought up when we talked about the other items. Because that was a perfect time, and there was no, we could have all talked about it. And that is not breaking open meetings.
So, no further discussion?
Wait,
Please.
last item before if it's something that the Lions Club want to still take over, and I know we still have budget adjustment throughout the year, come back and present to us, as in previous years, from hotel motel, versus going the route we're going now, then I think that's something that I could look at that time, but just not this
Exactly.
time.
Exactly. The council has typically and usually, in accordance with everything, the procedures that we have always entertained appropriating monies for that particular event. The issue is that those monies were not previously discussed in terms of being included in this budget by the specific amount, and that's why I cannot support the motion as has been read by Mr. Harvey. If there's no further discussion, please vote on the motion as read by Mr. Harvey. We have, it has not passed. The motion has not been passed since we have a tie vote. The chair will entertain a motion.
I don't know how, I don't have his written piece there, but I guess, did you write it for him, City Attorney?
The motion that you have.
Entertain a motion to the proposed budget for the city of Duncanville for fiscal year October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, providing that the expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget be adopted as amended in work session to include the Easter egg hunt for $4,000 and the bicycle ride for $3,000, that this amended budget in work session will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget in the amount of $1,474,908, which is $8.52% increase, which is a 8.52% increase from last year's budget, that the property tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $108,841. If someone will say so moved, then the statutory budget amendment or adoption motion will have been read.
And so that was my motion.
So that's your motion?
Say
That's
so
my
moved.
motion.
You need to say so moved.
So moved.
So moved. We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Any discussion?
Can I get the attorney to read it again, please?
Yes, I move that the proposed budget for the city of Duncanville for fiscal year October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, providing that the expenditures for said fiscal year shall be made in accordance with said budget, be adopted and as amended in work session to include the $4,000 Easter egg celebration and the $3,000 bike event, that this budget, as amended in work session, will raise more revenue from property taxes than last year's budget in the amount of $1,474,908, which is an 8.52% increase from last year's budget, that the property tax revenue to be raised from new property added to the tax roll this year is $108,841.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion has passed. Moving on to item 5B. Consider an ordinance levying ad valorem taxes for the year 2019 at a rate of 0.743447 per $100, parens $100, assessed valuation on all taxable property within the corporate limits of the city as of January 1, 2019, to provide revenues for current expenses and interest and sinking fund requirements, providing for due and delinquent dates together with penalties with interest. Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. So the proposed tax rate is a half-cent lower than the previous year, as we discussed in the budget presentation. The prior year tax rate was 0.748447, and the proposed current tax rate is 0.743447. That's per $100 taxable valuation. Chapter 26, Texas Tax Code, Truth in Taxation, requires 2 public hearings on the tax rate if the proposed rate's higher than the effective rate. And Duncanville's proposed rate is higher than the effective rate. We did have those 2 public hearings. One was conducted on August the 20th, 2019 at the regular city council meeting. The second public hearing was conducted on September the 3rd, 2019 at the regular city council meeting. The effective rate is essentially the rate applied to the current year taxable amount that would yield the same tax revenues as in the previous years, and of course that moves up and down as taxable valuations increase or decrease. The rollback rate is currently 8% above the effective rate. This is how our rates look, the effective compared to the actual tax rate, and the rollback rate were essentially 1.08% below the rollback rate and 7.67 above the effective rate, excuse me. So then, again, there's a specific motion that I have here on the screen that must be made in order to adopt the tax rate.
Chair will accept the motion.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.743447 per $100 valuation, which is effectively an 8.30% increase in the tax rate.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion has passed. Thank you. Item 5C, consider an ordinance ratifying the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget, which raises more revenue from property tax than in the previous year. Again, Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Section 102.7C of the Texas Local Government Code requires a ratification on a budget that will raise more revenue from property taxes than the previous year, and that vote must be separate from the adoption of the budget or the tax rate. That is what we have before you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Put it back up there.
I have a comment and motion, and then I'll make a motion. Richard, City Manager, I want to thank y'all very much for the preparation that you do in this, and you've done a very fine job, not only positioning us for today, but also for the upcoming years and concerning the caps that's coming in as well. I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve item 5C. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Item 5C is approved. Did you wish to vote? Did you?
I wish to vote, yeah, sorry.
City Secretary, please note Mr. Cook's affirmative. Item 5D, consider an ordinance approving the fiscal year 2019-2020 master fee schedule, which is attached here to and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. Mr. Summerlin.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Each year, the council adopts a master fee schedule so that it ensures that our fees are reviewed on an annual basis. All changes are notated in the schedules that were provided in the council packets in the light blue turquoise column titled Adopted Change for FY 1920. Park and Recreation increased some of their facility room rental fees. These are just sort of some of the highlights. I'm not going to go into all the detail. Public Works deleted or consolidated several fees that included contractor registrations, which are no longer allowed by state law. And of course, the garbage collection fees were increased according to what we discussed previously. And there are no changes to the water and wastewater fees. And so if there are no questions, then a motion can be made to adopt the master fee schedule as presented.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion approved.
We have a motion to approve.
Oh, second, and also a question when we finish.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yes, discussion. Richard, would you explain or share with everyone about the adopted change, 1920, for the $3,000 for the Sunday Night League of $3,000? Do we not charge that before at all, and we now charging? Is that what I'm seeing?
I believe that is correct. Do you have more information, Bart, that you'd like to share about that?
That fee was formally based upon a court rental fee per hour, and it was much more appropriate to do based on the program.
Okay. So the anticipated revenue for this at this point would be we have an amount based upon how often we rent this court.
I do not know that number off the top of my head.
We don't know that amount?
I do not know.
Okay, all right,
I can
thank you.
I can get that for you.
But you will still get people renting at this point for this dollar level as well? I'm sure you did your study and the market level is about the same.
This is for a specific program. That's actually already started at the field house and will be continuing. And we do still have open courts available during that time. Usually it's only like one half of the gym.
Okay.
Or half the facility, I should say.
All right, thank you. Then second question along with in those different lines, would you share with us, looks like there's a new also adopted change with 1920 and it's around replacing of AC units, I believe. Let me get down to it. Maybe can someone explain what the adopted change for 1920 on replacing AC units? And then,
Yeah, I'll call on Brian Ramey or. Sorry.
Let me, so you're talking about for public works, that's what's throwing me off.
All right.
Let me just sort of go back and see. Let me turn it over to the building official. I think about best.
For the House Bill 852 we discussed earlier, AC units used to be charged per ton. We've got a flat rate of $75 for residential and a flat rate for commercial. It's basically that way we don't have to try to figure out how many ton units they're putting in somebody's house. They just come in, pull a $75 permit, and rock and roll. That's our changes on that. It's a flat rate fee instead of per ton.
okay, just 1 second. All right, thank you.
Okay. Anything else on inspections before
Any further discussion from council? Seeing none, we have a motion and we have a second on item 5D, which is the master fee schedule. Please vote. Thank you. Motion is passed. Item 5E, consider an ordinance creating classified positions under civil service in the police and fire departments, providing a pay scale under civil service, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing a severability clause, providing a repealing clause.
Good
Mr.
evening,
Siegel.
Mayor and Council. Before you is an ordinance, and this is in accordance with subsection 143.021 of the Texas Local Government Code, which requires that you as the governing body create the classified positions under civil service for the police and the fire departments. And also the code calls for the creation of the salary plan. So within your packet is the positions for the police and the fire departments in the classified service. There are no changes to the number of positions in either police or fire. The number is staying the same. And then for the salary plans, this goes in accordance with the adopted budget. That police salaries would increase across the plans by 4%, and fire would increase across the plans by 5%. And I'll take any questions that you may have.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and we have a second. Is there any discussion, please?
Yeah, I have a quick question. Todd, would you go a little more detail of why that's happening, why we're doing the steps like this?
So, like I said, in accordance with the Texas Local Government Code, we have to, as the governing body, make sure that we create all of the positions within the classified service. So that would be within the police and the fire departments, delineating all of the positions from the assistant chief level in police and fire down to either the police officer or the firefighter position in police and fire. And as I stipulated, there are no changes to the number of positions in total within the police or the fire departments. And then with the salary and the pay plan, we have an established salary pay plan with different steps on them for police and fire. We're not proposing to change any of the steps in the schema, but we are following the adopted budget to change the salaries by the adopted increases within police and fire. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, thank you. It helps us be more competitive.
Correct.
As well. Okay.
To recruit and retain.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we have a motion to approve and we have a second on item 5E. Please vote. Thank you. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Item 5F, consider an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Duncanville, Chapter 2, Parens Administration, Article 1, General, by adding a new section 2-6, Liens and Release. Mr. Ramey.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a little bit of background on this. So code enforcement has the authority in some cases to do abatements as sort of the last resort for certain code enforcement violations. And then when those abatements, the invoice associated with that abatement is not paid, the city does have the authority to place a lien against the property. And the lien increase is 10% a year. You'll see the numbers. I'm sure I know you've gotten some input over the last several weekly reports showing our efforts to get these liens closed, some of these open liens closed. We've had several people come in and want to talk to us about their liens or the lien interest that they have, but the current ordinance does not allow city staff to negotiate any lien settlements with property owners. So if they want to come in and talk about their lien interest is typically what they're asking for. Now I do have the ability to excuse liens if they're improperly executed. So if we come in and we find out that we didn't properly do a notice of violation, or we sent the invoice or lien paperwork to an incorrect address, et cetera, then I can throw out that lien and write that lien off. So it's not for that, and again, it's just really if it's a valid lien, it was executed properly, but they have mitigating or extenuating circumstances. So the proposed ordinance would allow the city manager to establish administrative guidelines for negotiating the liens based on mitigating or extenuating circumstances. One thing, it was a typo on here. The ordinance is written would only apply to owner-occupied homestead residential properties. But some of the initial tentative administrative guidelines, subject to the council's approval tonight, then we would meet and figure those out. But the things that we've been thinking about already, internal to staff, was to suspend lien interest accrual when homeowners turn 65. We were thinking about applying fines associated with the code violation toward the lien interest. Obviously, the lien negotiation would only be applied toward the interest, not the part that the city has paid out of pocket to perform the abatement. And then another one would be if you come in and if you had not had any problems or code violations within the last 3 years. Those are some of the things that we've been thinking about for those administrative guidelines. But again, tonight, we need the ordinance approval to give the city manager, give us some flexibility to work with residents, again, based on their mitigating and extenuating circumstances. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve?
Thank you for doing this, and motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? I will second the motion. We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, though we're giving the city manager some flexibility here for sure, but I would like to see a written procedure that we can refer to on the guidelines that the city manager is going to use here. I know this it's a flexibility and it's a business call on his behalf, but I still think a written procedure outlining to us before we set this policy in place to know what moving forward. Because it sounds like I heard you mention it, Greg, but again, that's verbally. I'd like to see something in writing procedurally wise that's going to give us more structure and guidelines of what's going to happen here.
In our packet is the ordinance itself.
Yeah, I don't think that's, I don't know.
It's in, I can read it. It's section 2-6, and I'd be happy to read it. It says.
I can read it. I see it.
Okay.
But that's not enough.
Read it though for everybody.
But if you want to read it for everybody, go ahead.
The city manager may waive, discount, or release any civil lien and/or interest on residential owner-occupied homestead imposed under any ordinance or regulation under the Code of Ordinances upon finding that a good cause exists concerning any such non-payment. good cause shall be determined to mean excusable neglect or mitigating circumstances. The city manager shall periodically report any discount or waiver to the city council.
Yeah, I did read section 2.6, 2-6. I still didn't think that was enough for me to make a decision on whether we grant that without having some other documentation or printed procedures out.
I take that ordinance as written as providing with our city staff to conduct business with our citizens in a professional and courteous manner. That the previous ordinance was so restrictive that it gave no flexibility whatsoever to considering circumstances, and in accordance with that ordinance and the law, they were hamstrung. They were bound by not permitting any negotiating whatsoever. The ordinance as written, I believe, is broad enough to allow professionalism with our city staff to consider all the circumstances. I don't personally, Mr. Cooks, I don't feel it's necessary that it be delineated item by item, that we should depend on our staff to professionally administrate the intent of the ordinance as written, but that is again subject to approval and interpretation.
Yeah, and again, I'll state there's not any time you have a ordinance or a recommendation to give, there's a procedure that should be followed, and just putting it here in the ordinance is not a procedure. And I totally agree that he needed something, but I would still need some structure on a written procedure that he has to follow, other than, because after you bring it back to the council, it says the city manager shall periodically report any discount or waiver to the city council. That is after it happened.
He's done it.
But however, if you had a procedure, a written procedure that you had, that I do it in every case, you go by policy and procedure. Policy and procedure stated we do it this way, and the city manager follows that, I'm good with it.
Mr. Hogman?
Councilmember Cooks, I understand that your point, certainly we intend to be consistent and we intend to be fair. And what we will do is we will write some guidelines for staff to follow. But it is really no different than what we do right now with water accounts. We routinely discount water when people have a leak, if they can show us documentation. That is not a council-approved policy, but that is something that administratively we do. There are sometimes special circumstances as well where we will work with the homeowner and say we'll reduce their bill for some extenuating circumstances. So again, we don't take that responsibility lightly. We don't just give discounts everywhere, but we work with our customers, our citizens, to do what we think is the fair and consistent thing. I think to try to delineate in a procedure for council approval every single circumstance that we could possibly think of, I think would be very difficult to do, though. And I think it would kind of, again, we would end up being hamstrung at times. I think what is proposed are some of the things that we are looking at as our, by and large guidelines, and what staff would have the ability to approve, and then if there's something extenuating but beyond that, it would come to me for review.
Yeah, and thank you, City Manager. I'm definitely not questioning.
Call for question.
I'm
Call for the question.
I have my light on.
I'm definitely not questioning what you're saying for sure. I still think here that a procedure written that you're following, not that it comes back to the council for every approval, and it's not about, let me just make sure it's clear, this is not about you as a sitting city manager, this is about anyone who holds that office should have a procedure that they're following back. So that's my question here.
Point taken and understood, Ms. Jameson.
Yeah, the thing that I'm thinking is there's a big difference between a water bill and a lien against a property. I'm not sure about it going before the council, but maybe, some guidelines. City Attorney, do you know what other cities do on?
Most cities would handle it administratively.
And who makes the
most of these are going to be like mowing liens.
I'm sorry?
They're mowing liens.
Oh, okay.
And that's where we have where people buy the property or the son and the daughter end up with the property and they didn't realize because they went through an inheritance. And so and it's really the interest that accumulates because they've been there for a long time. And what we've traditionally done is only handle the interest because we have costs involved in the lien, so that's never forgiven. It's just the interest. When we have a big one like Shamyville, that's probably never going to be forgiven until they pay it.
Okay. Okay.
So the interest can be forgiven, but the lien does not go away.
So it's really not the principal amount, it's the interest amount. Excuse me.
And they have the discretion to decrement the interest in some portion, maybe not 100%, based on the circumstances and what they discover in negotiation discussion with the client.
It would be, again, subject to the guidelines that the city manager with the rest of the staff determine, or the criteria. Again, my intent is not to be arbitrary, and so again, the guidelines help us so that we can follow some guidelines and be able to treat everybody fairly or in the same manner through this. I guess it just boils down to how much of this is done through the administrative process as we've been talking about, and where council interjects as well.
So is that in the policy, the interest versus principal?
Well, what we are proposing is that any discount, any negotiation would only apply to interest, not to the lien itself.
Okay, so that's going to be written in there.
The lien is the lien. That was the actual cost to the city.
Okay.
Any further discussion?
Yes, my last discussion on the item is, thank you, City Manager, for saying that you will come back and work with a procedure that you'll be going through yourself. I think I heard you say that. So with that, I'm very comfortable as long as you have a procedure, as you mentioned, that not only you could follow, that anyone else could follow behind you as well. And then secondly, I think it also saves us from one person thinking we're doing something differently than we did for someone else, because we're following a procedure. So thank you very much for making that adjustment.
Yeah, and I think it's important that we know and understand that the professionalism in which these individual cases are going to be evaluated are going to be with discretion on part of the city staff, and for us to try and at this time to request a delineation of how every process would be too cumbersome to allow them to do what we intend for the ordinance to do. So with that, we have a motion to approve, and we have a motion, and we have a second. So please vote. The motion is approved. Item 5S is approved. Moving on to item 5G. Consider a resolution approving a facility use agreement with alcohol for the Sister City Commission events at the Duncanville Fieldhouse on October 16th, 2019, and the D.L. Hopkins Jr. Senior Center on October 24th, 2019. Mr. Stevenson.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As was announced in the citizens' participation earlier this evening, the Sister City Commission, with the assistance of many local families, will be hosting 20 to 25 representatives from our sister city, Monticello, October 16th through the 25th. There'll be 2 events being planned for city facilities, and as such, those events are being co-sponsored by the city. October 16th will be the welcome reception at the Duncanville Fieldhouse, and October 24th, the farewell dinner will be held at the Hopkins Senior Center. The commission has requested to serve alcohol at both events. It'll be wine only. There'll be a 2-drink limit utilizing a coupon system, and per our regulations, a uniformed Duncanville police officer will be present. And last, just a note that no alcohol will be purchased by the city or served by city employees. And with that, I will answer any questions you have. Also, Ms. Soroki is still here to answer any questions you might have as well.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion, please? See no discussion, please vote. Motion is approved. Thank you. Item 5H, consider a resolution approving a logo license agreement with the Duncanville Noon Lions Club to use the official city Duncanville logo and tagline for their 2020 first annual Open Golf Championship. Ms. James.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. As the mayor stated, the Duncanville Noons Lions Club has requested the use of the city of Duncanville official logo and tagline in terms of their support for the 2020 first annual Open Golf Championship. The event will take place from mid-February to late April. Included in your packets this evening, you did have a copy of the agreement that was reviewed and approved by the city attorney. The logo use will be used in letters and advertising to promote the event. And Mr. Jerry Frazier, the president, is here this evening, and so he'll visit with you further about those details and specific uses of that. The club does agree, as you can see in the agreement, the club does agree not to alter the logo in any way, and the agreement will expire the day after the event. And again, that will be late April when that event will expire. So I just wanted to kind of give you the overall highlights of it. But with that, I'll ask Mr. Frazier to come forward and give you the specifics of the event and also the use of the logo.
Oh, prior to that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Oh.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second? We have a motion to approve and a second. Please open for discussion.
We want to hear him talk.
Yes, Mr. Frazier, applicant.
Well, I'm not going to ask you for any money, so you ought to feel good about that.
Well, no, you know, that's the key operative in what you're saying is that there is no compensation, there will be no exchange of funds.
You don't get any, and I don't get any from you guys, so there you go.
And coming from a CPA.
So what we're looking for is to be able to send a letter to Dick's Sporting Goods or Atkinson or Toyota South and say, City of Duncanville supports this. It's a golf tournament. You're going to make a donation and we'll let you play for the championship.
Good
when
idea.
When you lose, you're done. It's a single elimination. It's an open championship. And Duncanville doesn't have a golf course, or we'd hold it there and try to get more money in that way, but we don't have one. So we're the City of Champions, and why we can't use that logo that says City, you know, Pittsburgh says City of Champions too. Why we can't use that logo and that phrase, it's beyond me, but I think it's a good idea, and I think you'd benefit from it, and so would we.
Thank you. Any further discussion from council or the applicant?
Just a question, Mr. Frazier, would that also make us a sponsor of the event as well?
You're not going to pay any money. I hope that we can say that you're supporting the event,
so
not
it'll
monetarily.
be supporting, so the logo there, normally when I say a logo, it means that you are a sponsor. So you're saying it'll just say supporting and not sponsorship? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Mr. Frazier, if you have someone else from the Lions who would like to address council, please have them come forward.
Yeah, I've got all kinds of support here. This came out of a back room and 3 old white men with their white hairs talking.
We're asking the city to endorse the tournament. We're not asking you to sponsor it. What we would like to do is have an ad in a paper, a newspaper, or whatever, saying sponsored by the Duncanville Lions Club, endorsed by the City of Duncanville and the Chamber of Commerce. Endorsement is not sponsorship, and it does not imply that you have any financial commitment to the tournament.
Thank you.
Because you don't.
That's my question. Thank you very much.
But the word endorsed does not mean that you are sponsoring the tournament.
That's why I was asking you to make it very clear. So thank you.
Yeah, the word endorsed, you know.
I'm very familiar with both terms.
Thank you, Doris. Good job.
Mr. City Attorney, do you have anything to add to the definitions of endorsement or sponsorship?
I do not.
Thank you very much. He does not. So you did a fine job, Mr. Smith. Thank you. Any further discussion? Oh, Ms. Jamison.
I want to tell you, I think that is a wonderful idea. Who thought that up?
Doyce Smith and
Doyce? Well, of course.
Mr. What's his name? Mr. Sutherland? No. What's the, huh? Sullivan. And we did it in the back room. We didn't even have drinks except caffeine-free root beer. So there you go.
That's enough information, Mr. Frazier, really.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
very good.
Well, I think that is a wonderful idea, and when I saw it, I thought, this sounds like the best one you've come up with ever.
We need you on the microphone if you're going to speak. We need you on the microphone if you're going to speak.
The only other thing that we might ask for you to do would be ceremonial, such as presenting the trophy to the winner or something like that, but nothing that involves any of your money, your time, your effort, any of that.
If any of us want to play in the tournament, we do have to pay the entry fee, though.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I get,
Because
I get a $1 million
that's what the
ball.
open means. It's open to anybody that'll play.
In the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Good for you. Good job.
Okay, seeing no further discussion, please vote. Thank you. The motion has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item 5I. Consider a resolution approving a 12-month agreement between the City of Duncanville and the Duncanville Chamber of Commerce, awarding a hotel occupancy tax grant to the Duncanville Chamber of Commerce, located at 300 East Wheatland Road, in the amount of $17,760 for fiscal year 1920, to serve as the official Duncanville Visitor Center. Ms. James.
Move to approve.
Second it.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing as there is no discussion, please vote. Motion has passed. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, item 5J is to take any necessary action as a result of the executive session. We are deferring that until the very end of the council. So at this point, we're going to skip item 5J. Excuse me, moving on to item 6A, receive the Economic Development Quarterly Report. Ms. James.
Thank you again, Honorable Mayor and Council. First of all, we'd like to start out with highlighting the capstones and basically the progress of where those stand. Objective 2.05 was to explore opportunities to acquire key properties for sale or foreclosure in Duncanville. The status, as Council knows, is ongoing. The city will start marketing the property located at 727 South Cockrell Hill Road in November. That's otherwise known as the former Shamyville Car Wash. In addition, the RFP for the property located at 609 Daniel Dell Road, which is on the corner of Daniel Dell and Santa Fe, it's a 45 acres there that the city owns, closes on October 1st. And as City Council knows, we will be engaging the council when we get those RFPs in and allowing you the opportunity to make the selection of the developer if you so choose. Objective 2.06 is to assist with tourism. This is ongoing as well. As Council knows, ED staff does manage the HOT funds and grants and provides assistance to the Chamber of Commerce when groups come in. As we talked about earlier with this, the Chamber provides visitor packets, and Economic Development also assists with providing promo things and stuff like that when possible. 2.07 is to increase improved marketing and branding. As you all know, this will always be an ongoing effort. The logo was implemented, and we are in the process of developing a new economic development marketing plan, and this will be for FY 1920. Objective 2.09 is the Retaining Walls Art Initiative, and this has started. We're very excited about this. City Council, as you all know, have reviewed the artwork for the mural that will be on the corner of Cockrell Hill and Daniel Dell, so we're very excited. This is a very tentative date, so I want to make sure that's phrased that way, but the community paint date is October 12th, starting at 8 a.m. And as council knows, it's going to be kind of a paint by numbers, so all the community is invited to come out and paint. You don't have to be an artist. We'll hand you a paintbrush and give you a can of paint, and you can paint where the number says appropriately. So we're excited. I think that it's going to be a beautiful addition to the community, and we look for further of these projects in the future. In addition, just to kind of highlight, this has been a partnership, as you all know, with the Parks Department and the Design Studio Group, as well as the Duncanville Independent School District. In addition, with our art initiatives, we do have 4 of the 5 traffic art boxes wrapped, and so those look great, and Timothy Hamilton has obviously played a huge role in that, in executing that project. We hope that here around that same time frame, on the October 12th, that kind of weekend, that we'll get the 5th wrap done, and that's over in Hastings Elementary. 2.11 is complete phase 2 of the Fieldhouse exterior improvements. This is started. However, I will tell council this will carry over into the next fiscal year, but we're going to do it, and we're going to do it right, and it's going to look good. So when that's completed, hopefully we can have an open house there and showcase that. Moving on in terms of economic development, business retention expansion efforts. Again, the time frame here is June through August, and you'll see that we assisted 15 different businesses. This included everything from helping them, existing businesses, helping them find new locations, assisting them with applying for grants, providing them with demographic information, and also sometimes helping them walk through the process in terms of permitting. So it just depends on the business. They all have different needs. In addition, we did work with 6 different property owners or managers. Some of those included the managers and property owners at Wheatland Plaza and also Fair Meadow Shopping Center. In terms of developers and new business prospects, you'll see that we engaged during this time period approximately 30 developers and brokers. This is residential and commercial, so this does include the retail as well, which is something that council is very interested in. In addition to retailers, 15 restaurants, and 3 manufacturers from the state leads. As you know, we do get those, a lot of those leads from either the state office or from the Dallas Chamber of Commerce, which we work with a lot. In addition, we also have engaged 2 entertainment venues, and that will just be dictated as we move forward in terms of the future of some of the other properties within the city. In terms of the market update and highlights, you'll see there that during this time period there was 124,685 square feet of commercial space that was either leased or built out. There were 51 new businesses. In addition, economic development brought 1 residential project and 2 commercial projects to City Council for consideration, totaling over $4 million. In addition, you can see down there below that during this time period, the EDC did approve a property enhancement grant, which council did the final approval on for the $157,000, just over $150,000 for the former Dickey's Barbecue building, and then as well as for the former bank building, it was $22,000, just over $22,000. So in terms of some activities that the board took part in, they did host and attended the COG Mobility meeting for Southern Dallas County Transit Study at the Duncanville Library. In addition, they did attend the Best Southwest Legislative Breakfast. You can see there that they did present 2 grant recipients, Redbird Skateland with $5,000 for the painting of their building, and if you haven't been by there, you should go. It looks a lot better. In addition, also have our properties with a paint grant and an architectural improvement grant for over $9,000. Additional activities included, and I won't go through all these, you can all read, but I'll just kind of highlight a couple of them. City Council, there was a City Council member and staff attended the NTC Roundtable Luncheon on the economic impact of immigration, which I thought was very interesting. And then also one of the big recruitment events, as you all know, that's one of the big ways that we do market Duncanville to retailers. We attended the 2019 ICSC Retail Live Central Recruitment event in Austin. We talked to over 20 different retailers, which did include everything from restaurants to entertaining to retailers. And so hopefully we'll get some response out of those. In addition, staff did attend the 2019 TACVB. That's obviously the Texas and Convention and Visitor Bureau's annual conference. And in addition, we are very active with the Parks Department on the community art enhancement initiatives. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Cooks.
And Jessica, I want to thank you for the report and on all of your work you do on EDC. When you're talking about the new development, perhaps the Starbucks or even the other one, are we asking them to, if they would, place some type of signage up to know what's coming? Because we hear so many people just asking what's coming, and to see those signs would really help with some of those questions, other than just waiting until it's open or groundbreaking.
That's a great idea, Mr. Cooks. We have not requested that, but that's very easy to do, and I'm sure that they would all be willing to do so. Yes, sir. That's a great idea.
I'd like to make a comment. I did send an email to staff, but take this opportunity to commend you, your office, and the other members of our staff. I had the opportunity to have a discussion with the principal owner of a new business in town, Takeout Burger. And while I was there, we began to chat just a little bit, and he told me that he has opened several businesses in other cities. He's done business before, and as an entrepreneur, he said, please let the city staff know this was the easiest, the smoothest, the most pleasant business opening he has ever experienced in his business career. And I want to thank Economic Development and in Public Works and everybody involved, Fire Department and everybody involved with that, to publicly say thank you very much to the entire staff, because it says a great deal about we are welcoming new businesses to our city, and we are making it pleasant for them to go through the ordinances and to go through all the red tape that we have. It's a wonderful thing for me to be approached by a co-owner of a business and to say thanks very much for having a great city to open a business in. So my personal thanks to all the staff for doing that.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 8:46. We are going to recess City Council and move to executive session into the briefing room. We're adjourned at 9:32. Got it.